Okay, this lesson is after you put the barn together with the chicken and the cow. So we're going to do that same concept, but this time you're going to pick your own objects. I'm going to give you a background to use and some starting points, but then you can add in your own things. So you can just go File, Open, and navigate yourself actually to the shared folder. Okay, and there's a folder called Collage, and you're going to open both of those. So you can hold down Control or Shift, either way. There's only two, so it doesn't matter. And then select both of them and open. And it doesn't matter. Normally we'd probably choose Don't Color Manage, but it's not a huge deal. And hit OK again for the other image. Okay, so we have like a background type of image. It's just a pretty boring landscape here. And then we have a creepy kind of house. And the house is on a transparent background. So remember, the checkerboard means it's transparent, which is much easier when you're trying to put objects together. So here's our starting point. You're going to duplicate your background layer and then turn the visibility off the original background. And then the first thing I like to do is get rid of this power line. And so, let me think. Spot healing brush or the healing brush will work for this. Yeah, healing brush, a lot of these will work. I'm just trying to think of what will work the best, and healing brush. Right now our brush size is pretty small, so I'm going to increase the size of that brush. There you go. Mine's at 30. You can put yours to whatever you want. I use the brackets to go up and down, or you can go up and down with the size here. Alright, so you're just going to not use this one. There, spot healing brush is actually what I wanted. Sorry. Okay, so you're just going to click and drag a line. And let's see if it works. There, worked pretty well. So it just took the information around what you were trying to cover up, and it covered it up with the pixels around it. So it was like it did some kind of mathematical formula. The pixels around it, it repositioned, duplicated where it needed to, and made it sort of blend in with the background. Pretty snazzy, huh? It's easy to do that with like a sky like this or something plain. Much more difficult when it's you certainly couldn't do that with like a face or something very easily, unless it was you know, sort of like a forehead where there was a larger area that you could cover it up. Like I couldn't probably cover up this pole very easily. Actually, that worked pretty well. Depending on the size of your brush, you can use that. So anyway, the spot healing brush, that was new in CS5, so relatively new to Photoshop. Alright, so you've got your background, we've got this house over here. You're going to add the house into the other one, so we're going to right click on that layer, duplicate layer, pull this down and click on the clone image, which is what the name of that background is, and then hit OK. And you're like, it didn't do anything, but if you come over here, that house is in there. Okay, so we're going to use the Move tool, the top tool there, and you can put that wherever you need it to go. And then you're going to hold down Alt, and you should see a a double arrow, black and white, and you're going to drag it out and then clone that guy. So you're going to have 3 houses. And then for each of these houses, they need to be the right size. And what you need to understand is that when things go further back into space, they look smaller. They appear smaller. You know, houses could be the same size. Something further back could actually be bigger than the object in front of it, but it looks smaller. So there's a couple different ways that you can emphasize that. And so we're going to use Control T, which is your transform tool. And for this one, in the past, I have not required people to hold down Shift to keep the proportion accurate. So if I hold down Shift, it keeps the same proportion. If I don't hold down Shift, then I can make it funny sizes. So some people like to make it a little bit of a fatter house, and that's okay. But it needs to be smaller the further back it goes. And so you also need to pay attention to where it is on the background here. If it's above, if you look at the bottom of the house where it meets the ground, if it's above the other one, then that means it needs to be smaller. So let's go to this layer over here, which is the middle house, and do Control T. So this house needs to be smaller than this one because the bottom of it is above it. So if something's above it, that means it is further away from you and should be smaller. So I'm going to make that smaller, and since this is my smallest house, now this one needs to be further back behind this one. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So put this anywhere you want, within reason, and then you can rename your layers. If you want to say left house, this is the middle house, and then right house. So that way you know which layer is which, because if I'm trying to move the right house and I'm on that one, I can only move the house that's on that particular layer. And that's going to drive you crazy, but that's why we've been practicing switching layers around so much. Okay, so now you've got your houses in there, and now you can start adding in some of your own objects, whatever you envision this scene to be. And I've seen some pretty crazy ones, so the options are unlimited. I'm going to go ahead and show you a few of those examples, and then we will continue. Okay, here's one. Sort of a night sky, lots of stars in the sky. Yeah. Here's another night scene. Looks like those are some wolves there. Sort of a bright green car. And the lights, he added these lamp posts, and made it look like it was glowing inside the house. And this just is a bunch of random things. The plane sort of looks like it's about to crash. A tent over here, looks like. And an old car. And an old-fashioned lamppost. And again, the glowing lights. Sort of like you're out on the plains. And this looks like either a foggy day or maybe a snowy day. some sort of strange creature back here, graveyard, another animal here. And those are some of the examples from last semester. So as you can see, you can go a lot of different directions with this. Okay, so the proper way to search for things, of course you can always use your own images. I encourage that, of course. Bring some in on a flash drive or a disk or however you want to get them here. Put them in your student folder and then you'll have access to them. But if you don't have any images of your own that you wanted to use, Google. Google is great. Google Images. But there's a specific way you need to do this. So I'm going to type in giraffe. I'm going to try and find a giraffe. And I am going to click on this gear over here and go to advanced search. I can't just steal anybody's image. I have to make sure that it is okay, free to use or share for this particular lesson. So we're going to use it. Any format is fine. And I guess I want a photo. Okay, so I've narrowed down my search and I can reuse it, and I'm looking for a photo. You could also look for different sizes. For this one, if you click over here, it's 72 pixels per inch, which is a web standard web size, but it's a pretty large image that I have here. So it's just something to notice. For this one, it's not going to matter a whole lot. So it's going to be a whole lot easier if you pick something with a background that's going to be easy to get rid of. So I'm going to pick this guy. Except it doesn't look like it's very good quality. Oh, there we go. It just had to load. So I am going to right click on it and copy image. I'm going to go to my Photoshop document and I'm going to just do Control V, or you could go up Edit Paste. Okay, it's pretty gigantic. I'm going to do Control T and then Control 0 so I can see the whole thing here. I'm going to hold down Shift on this because I want my giraffe to stay a certain size. Alright, and then I'm going to put him down at the bottom so it doesn't look like he's... Okay, these are, I should have mentioned this before, but these are not realistic scenes. Hopefully that made sense to you as we looked at the examples. Alright, so I have to either hit Enter or Escape if I wanted to redo that, or cancel or commit up here. Same thing, Enter. Okay, so then I'm going to use the magic wand. I could also use quick selection. We haven't really gone over the other selection tools. So hopefully you just have something that's pretty easy to get rid of. So magic wand, and then I'm going to hit delete. And Control D. And then I can go up to layer, matting, defringe. It didn't work that great for this one. Maybe I'll do 2. Well, and then I've still got that thing going on. Get rid of that. Control D. Then you can move it around. So this is really big, so I want it to be lowest on my picture here. So since it's probably going to be the biggest item I'm going to have, it needs to be the lowest. So as things get smaller, they get higher on the page. If I wanted, if I didn't want that house to be in front of my giraffe, then I would just want to make sure that my house layer was above the giraffe. Oh, other way around. Giraffe, sorry, giraffe above the other one. So whatever is on the top layer is the closest to you. I don't know why I just got that mixed up in my head. So then you can continue on at the end if you wanted to, like this one we saw, it looks like it's got a bit of a gradient over the image. So there's a couple, there's a lot of different ways you can do this project. Sorry. But you need to add in at least 3 things of your own. A lot of people like to add in a sky. So quick selection might work. Oops, except I got to be on the right layer. If I'm on a blank layer, I'm not going to select anything. So the background layer, I'm going to select the sky for the most part. And then it picks up too much because my settings were wrong. Okay, so as far as quick selection goes, so this one up here is to start a new selection. This one is to add to your selection, and this one is to take away from your selection. So it was on the take away, I don't really know why, but I want to add to my selection, and then my size is important too. So what it does is it picks up contrast, and there's not a ton of contrast between my sky and the land. So you don't want to have that very high. You want it to be pretty low. And we can adjust that as we go. But I'm going to deselect and try that again. So now it's picking up the edge, and it's going to not work perfectly. So then you could use the minus here and get rid of where it kind of messed up the horizon line. And then I am going to go to middle house and get rid of where it picked up my house. And so I'm just clicking and holding and kind of going over, and it took away my selection. Awesome. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if that layer's above it, so I'm not going to worry about that. Change of plans. Okay, so then you could search for a sky. If you had something specific in mind, you could go for that, but again, it needs to be labeled for reuse. That's really important. And that's really tiny, so I should have searched for something at least a little bit bigger. Some of these are pretty interesting. Alright, we'll just go with something plain. Well, I forgot to paste special, paste into, there we go, and then free transform. This, if you stretch it, it's probably not going to look any different. So, alright, so there you can change your sky, you could change other parts of this, although I'm not quite sure what you would want to change. And hit enter to accept it. And there's, like I said, lots of different options for this project. And so if you have something specific in mind, just go ahead and ask me and I could probably help you figure that out. So that is Be Creative 3.